Fuck it.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
Hey, mama. If you are a mom and are tired of the wash, rinse, repeat burnout cycle of motherhood, this podcast is for you. If you feel lonely and isolated in your motherhood journey, this podcast is for you. If you feel like you have completely lost your identity since your babies were born, this podcast is for you. If you feel like every other mom has it together except for you, this podcast is for you. My name is Amanda, and I'm a life coach dedicated to teaching every mom the tools she needs to liberate herself off the back burner. I am living proof that a woman can be present and loving to her kids while also being a whole-ass person outside of being that kid's mom. The secret? Learning when to say fuck it. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm starting this podcast laughing, guys. It's just that I just got back from a 12-day vacation. I went back home to California with my kids. And we were there for, like I said, 12 days. And we got back on, this is Wednesday when I'm recording this. Don't judge me. I know I have to edit and publish it tomorrow. Edit it today so that I can publish it tomorrow. Anyways, so we got back very late Monday night. Like we were coming home to our house just before midnight. So it was basically Tuesday. So I didn't work yesterday, Tuesday. I was just surviving, right? I was just alive, sleeping in and taking care of the children, getting the children to their dads, and going grocery shopping because there was obviously shit all to eat. That was really funny conversation to have with my children when they woke up hungry. It's like, well, your options are oatmeal, frozen waffles, or pancakes, because we still had some pancake mix. That's it, kids. That's it. Actually kind of impressed that I had anything other than oatmeal, right? But they were like, what? And actually, we did have some bacon in the fridge that hadn't been opened. So it didn't expire until October or something or other. So we made some bacon, and Ozzy had ramen noodles. That's what she chose for breakfast. She's always been kind of more of a savory person. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. So today is like my first day of going back to work, getting back into the swing of this. And it's been a very low key day. It's fucking 4:05. And this is the first thing I've done for work. I had to unpack and I've just been tired. It's hard transitioning through time zones, you know? And, anyways, I finally was done with my shower, done with my hair, done with my makeup, and I was popping on to do my podcast and so excited to be getting back into it. And I ran my test recording and it just sounded like shit. The audio was so low. And I was like, what is going on? I recorded a Fuck It Friday episode while I was in California because Amanda de la Madriz lives in Southern California. So her and I were recording together, like in person, and Samantha was still virtual. So the mic setting was different so that it could capture the sound from like both sides of the microphone for both of us. So, but I switched the setting. I'm not an idiot. And it's like, there's only so many things that could be going wrong. Why does the audio sound like this? And then I finally realized it was the stupidest thing. This platform that I use to record these episodes for you guys, it's called Riverside FM. Side note, if you are already a podcaster and you hate the way that you record currently, or if you have been interested in starting your own podcast, I highly recommend Riverside FM. It's super easy to use. It's very user friendly if you're not like really techie. And it's affordable. I just love it. And I love it for guest episodes too, for multiple reasons. So check it out if if you're interested in that sort of thing. It was just a setting that I needed to fix. Riverside was set to use the mic on the webcam instead of this microphone, which is weird. I don't know why this one didn't overrule or override the webcam. But it was just a simple setting that I just needed to click and fix. And I was so relieved that that's all it was. And that the airline didn't fuck up my microphone. Cause we had, as you see from the title of this podcast episode, such a crazy travel experience, especially coming home, but even the one getting out there. And, my long story short, for this portion anyways, my microphone ended up getting checked. I had it in the carry-on bag, but we were the last ones to enter the plane coming back home. So they checked our carry-on bags, and I just said a prayer and crossed my fingers and hoped for the best for my poor little microphone. Because I saw a video of machinery that they use to push the suitcases through their shit back there. And oh my God, I'm shocked any of our luggage makes it alive. It's really, really horrible. It's absolutely horrible. It's just this huge thing, just like bam, bam, bam to the side of the suitcases to get them onto the right conveyor belt. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, that's people's things in there. The suitcase is going to get cracked open. So if you've ever had a broken suitcase from traveling, that actually has happened to me once. I totally fucking understand why now. Like, I get it. I don't understand how any of my luggage makes it out alive. I don't know why it's not all cracked every time it comes back to me, the way that those machines treat it. But anyways, hello. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. I have been really enjoying having guests on the podcast because I've said this before and I'll continue to say it. My hope and wish with my podcast is to inspire you, encourage you to live your life in full authenticity to you and the beautiful person that you are, and to encourage you to be more than just a mom, to be a whole ass person, right? And a mom. But also, I eventually want to have accumulated enough stories from all of these different women, from all of these different backgrounds, so that any mom from any background can come and find my podcast and see herself reflected in it. Hear a story that is just like her story. And so I've just loved having all of these guests on the podcast. But I've also missed the element of me in my podcast. And as a host who's like hosting other people on her podcast, it's been an interesting new thing to learn of how to still infuse myself in these guest interviews. But I do also want to find the perfect mixture of solo episodes where it's me and guests, and the Fuck It Friday installments the first Friday of every month. Those are my favorite. Absolutely, hands down, my favorite, because they're just real. It's just the three of us getting together and being the most transparent and authentic with you all about the things in motherhood that suck, because there's not enough spaces where you can feel safe to admit toddlers are assholes, or admit, babies are just boring to me. I really did not enjoy when my kids were babies because it was just boring, or to admit all the other things that it's just hard or a struggle, or like just not your favorite age, like my kid's kind of an asshole at this age. I'm looking forward to celebrating their birthday, right? That's what the Fuck It Friday series is for. And I also obviously want to make sure that you are getting coaching tools, but I don't want it to just be coaching tools and techniques and teaching you thought work practices. I really, really want to do something different. I don't want to, I already am doing something different as a life coach. This space and every space that I create is always going to be part useful in the sense of new things that I'm teaching you, new things that you can learn, new ways that you can be inspired, but also part authentic, because there's not enough authentic spaces on the internet. There's not enough people out there willing to be authentic because they're so scared of being judged. So, this episode is unique in the sense that I'm really not here to like teach you anything new. I'm not here to do any like coaching things. I don't know what that face was. This is not a coachy episode. This is just a story from this mom to all of you moms about a crazy fucking travel day. Traveling with kids is such an experience, right? I have always traveled with my kids. So I currently live in Wisconsin. I was born and raised in Southern California, and that's where I met my girl's dad. And we got married there and we lived there until our second was 1. So we had 2 kids when we moved to Wisconsin, and they were 3 and 1. But his family is from here, from Wisconsin. That's how we ended up here. So it didn't really matter like when we lived in California or we lived in Wisconsin, we were always traveling to see family every year because we had kids, we had their grandkids. And like, I want to see my family too. So the first time that we traveled with Aowen, she was a itty bitty. I'd have to like actually look back at the memories, but I'm actually pretty sure she was only like 6 weeks old. I think she was like real fresh, 4 to 6 weeks. So I don't really know. I'm so used to traveling with my kids. And I know that it's the idea of even doing it is very stressful to a lot of people who haven't done it with their kids yet. But I'm fortunate in that I was sort of forced to travel with them from a young age, because I don't know anything different, and my kids don't know anything different. They've all always traveled like just fresh out the oven, basically. And so they travel really well, but it's still a lot to travel with kids. There's just all these other people and all this other shit you have to bring. And when they're babies or toddlers, there's the diapers, the pull-up aspect, there's bottles, there's car seats. Fucking car seats. I'm so glad I don't have to travel with car seats anymore. It's just another thing to carry. You're pushing around the baby and the toddler in the stroller, and you have a baby strapped to your chest. You have a suitcase that's like underneath the fucking stroller, like on the stroller basket, one of the smaller suitcases. You're pulling a big suitcase. On top of that suitcase, there's a fucking car seat. And on top of the stroller canopy, there's another car seat. Yes, that actually was me. Traveling with all these fucking kids. So happy not to have car seats. But it's still a lot. It's a lot to organize. It's a lot to plan. It's just, there's a lot of moving pieces. A really big saver of sanity for me has been learning how to let go when things just don't go to plan. You know, you forget something, just fucking buy some more when at your destination. It's not the end of the world. It's okay. As long as you don't forget your fucking license or your debit card, your credit card, your means of paying for shit. As long as you have your wallet, basically everything else can be replaced. So just like calm your tits. Prescription medication, you know, that's tricky. Don't forget that. But so much of it you can replace, you can do without it for, you know, the week that you're traveling, all these things. So just learning to be super flexible with all of the things that can go wrong and all the things that can be forgotten. This travel, though, I got thrown multiple curveballs. So beforehand, this was, is that right? Yeah. Okay. We left for our California trip on August 8th, which was a Thursday. my kids had this dance intensive week, July 29th through August 2nd. Three of the four did. Three of the four are competitive dancers. And so they have to do this dance intensive week in summertime every year. And it's a school day. It's a school day's worth of dance Monday through Friday for a week. They, like the three who were in dance, they like had the sniffles that week, but they didn't seem sick to me. So like, off you go. Like, let's just do this. Their stepmom tested positive for COVID on Thursday, August 1st. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I should get them tested just out of an abundance of caution, because they had just been the weekend before. They went on a trip with their dad and there's that side of the family. All three of those children tested positive for COVID. I was like, what the fuck? They were essentially asymptomatic. It was fucking ridiculous. And this has happened every time that they've gotten COVID. They've just been virtually asymptomatic, or like definitely no sniffles, no nothing, just asymptomatic. Fucking ridiculous. My other daughter, Aria, who is not in dance, she tested negative. I tested negative. And then Friday, the very next day, I started feeling sick. I was like, oh, fuck off. So I got really sick. I got a super nasty fever and a really bad headache. It didn't really get in my lungs, which was a relief. I have asthma. That's never fun. When I get viruses that get in my lungs, it just makes the asthma get a lot worse, and it takes longer for me to recover from it, like get it fully out and all that stuff. So I've had COVID before. This was a very weird COVID experience. I guess the fucking thing is mutated again. It's like just trying new ways. But I had such a bad fever. I hate fevers. They're so horrendous. And I have nerve damage so when I was 15, I had Guillain-Barré, which is a nerve thing. I was temporarily paralyzed. And so the only nerve damage that I have from that, and I'm very lucky that this is it, is only when I'm like super, super, super sick, especially when I have a fever. I'll just get sensitive to being touched. I'll get sensitive to temperature, like cold bothers me. It just hurts. My whole body just essentially hurts from the nerve damage when I'm really sick. And I sure as shit had that. I was so fucking sick. And also stressed, because I was like, fuck, if I don't get better, I'm gonna not be able to travel. This sucks. Luckily, it was only a couple days where I felt truly like fucking trash. And then that Tuesday, I started feeling better. So let's see. Yeah, so Tuesday was day 5 for me. And the current regulations are, as long as you've been fever free for 24 hours and your symptoms are improving, and it's like, day 5, you're fine to like be around people. So I was like, oh, thank God. But I hadn't done I needed to edit 2 podcast episodes in order to stay on track for my scheduling for when I was gone, and just all the other shit that you have to do to prepare for leaving for 12 days. It was a lot to cram into 2 days when I really didn't feel, I felt better, but I didn't feel 100%. So as you guys know, I got the podcast episodes done. But that's why there wasn't the typical little intro for you of just me like checking in with you guys and chatting with you for a little bit, because I was just banging them out. But yeah, so that was like the craziness beforehand, before leaving. And I wasn't able to clean out my fridge. There was a dish that got left in the sink that was a fucking science experiment when I got back. It was so gross. But I had to let go of something because I'm one person and there's a lot to do. But we made it to the airport in, perfect timing, and there was no delays. It was like the travel day in and of itself going out to California was perfectly fine. Ran into a shit ton of traffic, when we were in LA and had our rental car trying to go over to where my family lives. That was a fun 2-hour drive in traffic. Fucking California in the traffic, man. It's horrendous. I don't miss that at all. I don't miss the heat either. It was fucking so hot. Southern California in August is so goddamn hot. We were just sweating our tits off the entire time. It was pushing triple digits the whole time we were there. It was gross. But anyways, had a lovely time with family, lovely time seeing friends and visiting with people. We got to have 2 days at the beach, which was so great. Cause one of my family members, they just bought a little beach house. And so they let us camp out in there, and it's walking distance from the beach, like just perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So blessed and grateful to have had that opportunity. We did get sunburned really badly. My face looks pretty normal now. My back is still, it's really bad. And it wasn't even hot at the beach. It felt great. It was like 76 at the beach. That reflection off the water though, gets you every time. I love the water so much. So it was worth it. But Jesus Christ, we got burnt alive. It was like one of those sunburns where it was waking me up at night, like my back, because my back got the worst of it. It was waking me up in the middle of the night when I would turn over in my sleep because my skin was that raw and you could feel the heat coming off of my skin. I was like literally radiating heat for like a full 24 hours afterwards. It was crazy. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful though. The ocean, not my sunburn. Our trip coming back. I am the person who will get to the airport 2 hours in advance. I prefer to have like too much time before having to board than be like just barely making it or get to your gate and they start boarding within 5 minutes. Like that shit stresses me out. I want to have a leisurely time at the airport, especially with all these goddamn kids with me. But even when I fly by myself, I am the person who is there 2 hours in advance because that is better for me. I just prefer that. And we were on track to get there 2 hours in advance. But then we went to In-N-Out before I had to feed us all because I knew that we weren't going to be eating until we landed and it was going to be late. So I was planning on going to In-N-Out. We left my mom's house 17 minutes behind my schedule. And that's what set us back. So when we were finally leaving In-N-Out, I plugged in LAX to the GPS and it had us arriving at the rental car place 20 minutes behind my schedule. But still, it's only 20 minutes, right? So it's like, okay, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to like white knuckle stress drive to try to get there fast. Like it's fine. It's just 20 minutes. It just means in my brain at that moment, I was like, this just means that we're going to get to the gate and just be boarding right away. It's going to be fine. It's just, it took away the buffer, right? Wrong. Absolutely wrong. Tell me why Delta had 2 fucking agents, 2, and then eventually brought on a third one at LAX on a Monday. What the fuck? I couldn't check in electronically because the kids and I were on 2 separate reservations because we were using a companion ticket and it just got weird. So I couldn't check us in electronically and just like, go to the kiosk machine at the fucking airport and do my bags and all this shit. So we had to wait in line and the line was pretty long, but also not the longest that I've ever seen it. Okay. It's just that there was only 2 agents and it was taking 4 fucking ever. By the time we got up to the lady, our flight was boarding. When we were checking in our bags, finally, our flight was fucking boarding. Mind you, we haven't gone through security yet. I was so stressed. And as she was checking us in, she was like, okay, so I have to warn you, your bags might not make it onto your flight because they're already boarding. So your bags, if you make it onto your flight, your bags might not. I was like, why do you have to word it like that? Can we speak positivity into the universe, lady? But she's like, if you make it on your flight, and you get there and your bags aren't there. Like, it's just because we had to put them on the next flight. So I was like, okay, that sucks. But okay, if I just take the bags, kids, run to fucking security. That line was not bad, but still just those like 10 minutes that I was waiting to get to the officer, the 10 or 15 minutes. Oh my God, I don't know. I was so stressed out. But to get to the place where like they take your ticket and check your identity and all that shit, I was so stressed out. I was just like, this is why we come 2 hours in advance. This is why. In case of shit like this. And my daughter, Eowyn, she was like, Mom, I know this is stressful, but we can't do anything about the past. We can't do anything about like the time leading up to getting to the airport. We could only do what we can do right now here in this moment. And I was like, how dare you use my words against me when I'm stressed? No, I wasn't like that. I was so appreciative of her being able to speak my words into me when my brain was like spazzing the fuck out. Like I was spazzing. I don't get overwhelmed with stress like that very often anymore, but that was really stressing me out. So I was like, I've never missed a flight before. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen. Are they going to charge me to get on to another flight because it's my fault technically that we missed this flight? If they like, what time are we going to get home? Our bags, what if our bags make this flight and then we're like 5 hours behind it? Just all these things. I was like, the fuck? But she's right. All of that was on my hands. And there was no point in like belittling myself and thinking about the past, 2 hours and how I should have handled things differently or done things differently or made different choices in order to avoid the reality that we were standing in. Because none of it matters. That's done. That's done. What can you do right now? So of course, because I was on the biggest time crunch of my life that I have ever been on, the fucking TSA decides to scan my hands for bomb residue. They do that whole thing, so I have to wait. And then 2 of my bags got flagged and they had to go through them. But there was 2 or 3 people in front of me waiting to get their bags checked. And I was like, oh, dear God. At this point, we had about 10 minutes to get to our gate before they fucking left us. And so I was waiting for my bags to get, manhandled. And my daughter, Eowyn, she's the oldest, she's 13. She was like, Mom, what if my sisters and I go to the gate and tell them like, hey, we're here? I was like, yes, go do it. And in hindsight, I was like, I'm thinking I sent my 4 daughters through LAX by themselves. In my defense, we were very close. Our gate was very close to the security port. And they've been to LAX so many times. Because that's always where we fly into. It's the only way to get a direct flight to Southern California. I could use a different airport that's literally down the street from my mom's house, but I would have to do a layover, and I'm not doing a layover. I hate doing layovers with the kids. It's horrible. I hate doing layovers just in general. It's a fucking waste of time. I'd rather drive to LA. I'd rather go to LA and then have to drive. Tangent. But I did. I gave them their boarding passes. I was like, go. I will meet you there. Then the dude who's going through my bags decides to like really dig in. He took apart every single, I know it's their job, but this was ridiculous for this reason. He went through every pocket. Okay, fine. I get it. I got you. Go through every pocket. Make sure those tampons are really tampons. You go, sir. But he took my book and like fingered through each page and shook it and then fingered through each page again. He went through my wallet. He went through every single compartment of my wallet. I was like, my plane is going to leave me. They're going to take my kids and leave. please, sir, hurry up. Keep the book. I need my wallet, but keep the book. I don't care. That was all inside of me. I didn't say any of that because I recognized like, I just made the conscious choice. I'm not going to project my stressed out shit on everybody else. I did not suddenly become that crazy person who was yelling at everybody. My plane is leaving. It's boarding right now. Can I please cut in front of everyone? Like, I was like, this is on me. I trust the universe to have my back. We're just going to like get through this. And I wasn't going to yell at the security person, the TSA officer, to hurry up because I was running late. Because A, they must hear that all the time. And B, he's just doing his job. I fucking get it. But still, it was so ironic. I've never had them finger through my wallet and finger through my book and just really dig. I was like, sir, what the fuck? What do you think I'm hiding in my book? Do they make bombs that are like sheets of paper thin now? Is that possible? I don't know. While he's fingering my book, Eowyn calls me. She's like, they said you have to get here in 3 minutes or they're closing the doors. I was like, okay, I'm coming. He finished. I grabbed my shit. I put my shoes on, which I regret. I wish I would have gone barefoot. I was wearing Birks and it's very hard to run in Birks. It was horrible. I should have just ran barefoot through and I started running and realized how long it had been since I had to like run for anything more than just dance competitions where you're just running from the auditorium to the dressing room real quick. Running through LAX is a little bit farther than that. Oh God. But also how hard it is to run in Birks. It was so hard. I get there. I see my kids. They're waving at me. And I was like, I'm here. And they let us on the plane. Thank Jesus, Mary and Joseph and all of those fuckers that they let us on the plane. They let us on the plane. They had to check our carry-on bags. And I was like, fine, take it. I don't care. Be gentle with my microphone, but I don't care. Just let me on that plane. Dripping sweat from stress and running. But we made it on the plane. And the flight attendant who was there to welcome us, she was carrying a basket of little water bottles, which I'm assuming was for first class because we never get those in the peasant part of the plane. And she looked at me and she's like, I'm glad you made it. And she handed me 2 water bottles. I was like, me too. And thank you. Because we didn't have time to refill our water bottles, obviously. Like we had 5 empty water bottles that we were carting around with us. Normally we fill them up at the refill station. Like no time whatsoever. I've never run that close, guys. I've gotten to the point where it's like we are running to the terminal and our zone is already being like boarded. So we just run to the terminal and we get straight in line because our zone is boarding. That has happened before. I have never been minutes, possibly like seconds by the time I got there, seconds away from them closing the gate on me. Never. And then the question became, did our bags make it? Are they below us right now? Or are they coming on another flight? Won't know till we land. So then we go down to the baggage claim. When we get to Minneapolis, we live in Wisconsin, but we're on the border. So we always fly in and out of MSP. Go down there and just crossing all of the fingers and all of the toes that our bags, our big bags, we know the carry-ons are going to come down. Just crossing our fingers that those big bags come down. Because we landed at, I don't know, 9:30 p.m. So if we had to wait for the next flight to come in, oh my God, that would have been such a long night at the airport. My 2 younger ones were like, oh, that'd be fun. They like saw it as an adventure. I was like, no, that would suck. It would suck the biggest amount of ass because we already walked out of the airport, right? So there's no food available to us. We're stuck in baggage claim, or we could go get the car and then go eat and come back and pay for short-term parking at the airport for our bags, I guess. But it would suck a lot. That would not be a fun adventure. It would just be an adventure that we unfortunately had to do. And our little bags came down like we knew they would. And then I was still just watching all these other bags come down that weren't mine. And then I saw one of our bags. I was like, yes. So like I said, our tickets were on 2 different reservations. So 2 of our bags I paid for them with the first reservation check-in. Then when she went to do the second reservation check-in for that 3rd bag that was going to be tied to that, the computer didn't want to take it because it was past the time limit because the flight was fucking boarding when we were checking our bags in. So I saw the 2 bags and I was like, oh, is that 3rd one going to make it? I don't want to stay for 1 bag. I don't know why my brain was like all for one and one for all, but whatever. The third bag made it too. I was so happy and so relieved. Like, thank you, universe, that all of that worked out. But dear God, I will never, ever, ever, ever let us run that close. That is a one-time adventure, folks. That's it. Never happening again. Ever. I will get there 3 hours in advance if I have to avoid that. At least when we're flying out of LAX, everything just takes so much longer in LA. The traffic getting there, then the shuttle service, and it's such a massive airport, all the walking. And the fact that they just did not have enough people working the Delta check-in thing. No. Don't know if I'll ever use a companion ticket either. Because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'll pay for the extra. I'll pay the extra to not have that free ticket so that I can check my bags in electronically. Or check us in electronically and then just, self-tag the bag, drop it off. That line is for the birds. But yeah, that is my adventure in traveling with my children. It was so fucking crazy. I still can't believe that. My daughters and I have been like talking about it ever since. Just be like, remember when we almost missed our flight? That's just going to be a running joke now in our family. And it will be the only time. It will be the only time that we will ever look back on, be like, remember when we almost missed our flight? That will be the only time that is applicable. I will never allow this to happen again. It was so stressful. It was horrible. And I don't like running through LAX in my overalls and getting all sweaty and gross. Blah. But it was quite the adventure and we made it. Oh, I watched this movie on the flight back called Wicked Little Letters. It was so good. And it's based on a true story. So this is like early 1900s. And these 2 women in Littlehampton, England, I think it was Littlehampton. They had this thing going on. So one was receiving these nasty letters with all this foul language. And she was accusing her neighbor of doing it because this neighbor was from Ireland and she was, she was the type of woman who always spoke her mind very loudly and used profane language and was a single mom and all this stuff. She had a boyfriend, but essentially a single mom. It was so good. It was hilarious. It had like a really dark humor to it, but it was so like juicy and intriguing. And I loved the awareness of that it brought to women's suffrage at that time. Just the amount of shit that women had to go through. There was a woman police officer who was like working the case, and everyone always had to refer to her as woman police officer Moss because she was different than a male police officer. Those were just, officer dickhead. She had to always be woman police officer Moss, and she wasn't allowed to have handcuffs. And she wasn't allowed to get married or have kids. Like, excuse me, sir. You, male police officer, you're allowed to get married and have kids. Why the fuck can't she? All this shit that women had to go through. And when I was on my COVID sickbed, I watched 3 other like female, like femme movies. So Young Woman in the Sea, another true story about, oh my God, what was her name? Edith something. She was the first woman to swim the English Channel. And this was, again, turn of the century, back when they, like the common thought and medical opinion was that women were too delicate to exercise. And if they were to exercise or be athletes, like the way that men are athletes, that their hearts would explode, that our bodies literally could not stand it. And so she lived in that bullshit and had this drive to be a professional athlete, to be a swimmer. All the things she had to overcome, and she fucking did it. So inspiring. Go watch it. And also Hidden Figures, which is about the Black females who worked at NASA during that whole 60s NASA stuff with the man on the moon and first man in orbit and all that stuff. So good. So good. Again, true stories. And then Hysterical, which is a documentary on female stand-up comics, because comedy is still such a male heavy field. It's just dominated by men. And that's just starting to kind of shift now, where women can be funny. Yeah, actually we are. We're quite funny. All of these stories, it's just so inspiring. And I love watching women do their own damn thing anyways, despite everything that we have going against us, despite all the sexism, despite sometimes, a lot of times, even our families advising us to just play it safe, do it this way, it's safer. And but feeling that drive inside of you, knowing that you are here to do things differently, and then going and fucking doing it. Go watch those movies. Look for them on purpose. Look for the movies that have like Wicked Little Letters, that have it's female driven. There was like one male sort of lead role, but all the lead roles were women. Look for those movies. Look for the female comics. Look for the female stories, because the algorithm, the like universal algorithm, is still male centered. And if we want things to change, we have to seek out that change ourselves. Look for it on purpose. Look at the Olympics. This is the first Olympics, the very first Olympics, where the male to female athlete ratio was 50-50. The first fucking time that's ever happened. Isn't that incredible? Things are changing for us, ladies. If you want things to change, you have to seek out the change. Disney Plus has a whole section of like a whole collection. They have all these like collections to make it easier to search. And they have a female collection. You just have to look for it. So if you go to like their search and then their collections, scroll all the way down and then go to all collections, and then you'll see it. I think it's Her Stories, I think is what they called it. Go look for her stories. Listen to her stories so that you can live out your story, your unique story. What are you here to do? What is your calling, your drive, your passion, that thing inside of you that you just know is for you? Go for it. And if you're scared, email me, sign up for your free consultation. Because if you have that inside of you, it's because it's for you. That's not an accident. I love you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out with me and listening to my crazy tale of my crazy travel day. And let it be a lesson for you. Always get there 2 hours in advance. 2.5 hours if you're going from LAX or like New York or any of those bigger ones, especially LA. Fuck. 2.5 hours. But go with the flow and don't, as my daughter so perfectly reminded me, don't focus on the past because you can't do anything about that. All you have is right now. What can you do right now? I'll see you guys next week. Are you living your one wild life to the fullest? You're not? Why the fuck not? What are you waiting for? The time to live is now, mama. Do not wait until your youngest is in college. Let your dreams hire me for an hour so I can explain how I can help you achieve any goal in your life. You've put yourself off long enough. It's time to pour into you. The link to schedule your 60-minute complimentary consultation is in my show notes. Join the community of Fuck It Moms by following me on Instagram and Facebook at Fuck It Mothering. That's fuck without the U. So FCK It Mothering. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you never miss your weekly encouragement. And please rate, review, comment, and share. All of these things help with the algorithms, so that way when other overwhelmed moms are looking for encouragement, they can find me. Every month, I give away one of my favorite books and a Starbucks card to a lucky winner. All you have to do to enter is write a review or tag me in social media when you share an episode. See you next Sunday, gorgeous.